Hi, I'm Talia from Little House on Laurel, and I am going to show you how to make a new recipe of mine, pumpkin sourdough chocolate chip muffins. Now, this recipe uses einkorn flour, which is a new favorite of mine, and I buy my einkorn from Jovial Foods online and have it shipped here. And then I grind the einkorn using my mock mill, and it makes this really light flour that seems to be a lot lighter than whole wheat flour when you're baking with it. You almost can't tell the difference. So for this recipe, you need 1 3/4 cup of einkorn flour, and then 1/8 teaspoon each of ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and allspice, and a 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon. Then you'll add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, I've learned that it's really important that you mix all of your dry ingredients together first before adding them into the liquid ingredients, because it will help your muffins to rise better. I tried the first time by just doing what I normally do when I'm making cookies and things, and just mixing the dry ingredients straight in with the wet ingredients, and it didn't work very well. It didn't rise very well. So doing my research, I realized you need to mix your dry ingredients, mix your wet ingredients separately, and then mix them together. Okay, so that takes care of the dry ingredients. I'm just gonna stir those up. Now we're ready to move on to the wet ingredients. To start with, for the wet ingredients, you're going to mix 1/3 cup of softened butter with 1/3 cup of honey. This is my raw honey that I buy from a local beekeeper. It's the best. Okay, now I'm going to beat the honey and the softened butter. All right, now you're going to add 2 eggs, and another key to helping your muffins rise is to make sure your eggs are at room temperature. They just mix in better with fats if they're at room temperature. So if you forgot to take them out and let them sit, then you can get a bowl of warm water, not scorching hot because that'll cook the eggs, but just warm water, and let them sit in the bowl for 15 minutes, and they should get to room temperature. All right, so now you're gonna take your 2 eggs and mix those in, and make sure that you scrape the sides of the bowl down. So wanting you to see that it's still kind of globby, it doesn't mix really well, and that's because of the honey. It just doesn't incorporate into the butter like sugar would, but that's okay, these still turn out great. Now I'm going to mix in a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. All right, so now we're ready to start adding the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And I'm also going to be adding in half a cup of my sourdough starter. Now I'm gonna add the other half of the dry ingredients. You don't want to overmix it, so just until the dry ingredients are incorporated. That's how long you want to let it mix. Overmixing is another thing that can keep your muffins from rising. There's so many variables. Okay, I'll mix it one more time. And then add in a half a cup of chocolate chips, or you could do carob chips. I'm gonna mix those by hand, just so we don't overmix it. Okay, now we're ready to put these in some muffin tins. This recipe makes about 15 muffins. Now this is my non-stick muffin pan, so I don't need to spray it. If you don't have a non-stick, you definitely need to spray it or use muffin liners. You want to fill it about between 2/3 and 3/4 full. Okay, I'm gonna put these in the oven now on 350 for about 17 minutes. Of course, oven times vary, so you'll need to check, but you wanna make sure a toothpick comes out clean. Once you remove the muffins from the oven, you want to move them to a cooling rack. And that's how you make pumpkin sourdough chocolate chip muffins. I hope you enjoy.